Hi guys, and welcome to another edition of the Kevin Moore Show. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Alexandria Saar. Now Alexandra is a psychic medium and spiritual teacher all the way from Massachusetts in the United States. She's my first guest of 2019. So Alexandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I'm really looking forward to being on here tonight.
Well, thank you for coming on. And this is my first show back for 2019, and I appreciate that you're the first one on this new series. And what I find fascinating about your story as well is you're obviously a psychic medium, and you're quite a young psychic medium as well. How old are you?
So I actually just turned 24 the other day.
Wow, okay. So for just turning 24, how many years have you been a practicing psychic medium?
I've actually been doing it now for 7 years. I started around like when I was turning 18 years old. I just graduated high school, and I wasn't even looking to do this. It just literally stumbled upon my lap, not coincidental at all, just literally fell in my lap.
Wow, okay. And how did that happen? What was that process?
So actually, a family member of mine, I had no clue what a medium was, but I had a feeling due to paranormal experiences that, something was going on, like seeing spirits all the time wasn't that normal. But my cousin said she was having like a psychic group session party, and she invited me, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come along, not really knowing what I was getting myself into. So, yeah, I headed over there, and Nicole Stephens was there at the time. And the moment I walked in and she saw me, she just literally looked at me. She was like, you can do what I do, and I want to work with you. I had no
Wow.
clue what she was talking about.
Okay, and Nicole Stephens was or is?
Yeah, so she's been my mentor along with a good friend of mine the past 7 years. She has been a great asset in all of my growth. It's truly amazing. She's helped me a lot. She's actually an internationally renowned spirit medium and a mentor and author. She helps a lot of people, not only with their journey in grief, but she just helps a lot of people connect with their self and connect with their intuition and really grow their gifts, whatever it may be. And it's just really fascinating just even watching what she does. It's really inspiring, and I just have always admired her, and her work has really rubbed off on me as an inspiration. So it's really cool to have her in my life.
Well, that's amazing that you've got that mentor, because I would have thought that's obviously it is very important for you to have that. And does she keep you grounded in a sense and keep you keep you straight?
Absolutely. Before, I learned to get more confident in myself and my abilities, I would probably always call her before every single, platform event, and she would absolutely help me stay grounded and just basically retell me everything I needed to hear. So, absolutely, yes.
And okay, this is fascinating. This is so I mean, this gift must have been with you, since a very young age as well. You didn't just become psychic at 18, did you?
No. As a girl, I would always see, feel, and hear a lot of things that I knew weren't normal, but I had a very Christian family, and that was kind of like a hush-hush thing. Like, I never brought it up. Never brought it up, because I just know, they would have been like, you're crazy.
And
So,
what do they think of you now?
they believe me now.
How has that
They,
process unfolded, though? I mean, what has been that process for them to come, around so much and accept what you're doing?
so they've been to a lot more of my platform events where they've got to, experience firsthand other people's experiences and testimonies and their validations from their loved ones. But I will say, though, it was a little difficult for them because my father actually passed away at a young age, and it actually runs on his side of the family. So we never knew growing up that like there was other mediums in our family. Like we never knew that growing up because we didn't have anyone in our life to really tell us that.
And how many sort of stage events have you done up to this point?
I started around 2015. I've done at least 30 now.
Okay, and is that local stage events?
Yes, they're pretty local right now. So I am in Massachusetts. So they started out, it's really funny, they started out in, I would just go to restaurants, like little restaurant bars, like Coop's Bar and Grill, Cagney's, and I would just start off there. And I would do it almost, every other month, every few months. And I didn't care. I just knew that I had such a big passion. I just wanted to share it with people. Because it's grown in a sense where the setting has changed. Like I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily have to go to a bar or restaurant now. Like I can go to like a nicer venue or setting. But it was almost like training wheels in a sense for me, if that makes sense. And it was really nice to have those little experiences.
Okay. And so how does the gift work for you then? What is the process for you then when, how do you do what you do in a sense? What if I was to come to you for a reading, how would it work?
Basically, I like to just call myself the messenger. I like to bridge the gap between, the afterlife and the physical. And I'm like, basically, I just deliver all the messages. Nothing has to do with me. Basically, I really just like to carry the message that your loved ones they're always here with you. They're always present with you. And it's just really nice when you're sitting across the table from someone and they haven't experienced that before and they get all of these validations and shared memories. And it's just a really great feeling. It's a really great feeling to be that messenger. It's awesome.
And how's it? What's coming through? Is it? Are you using cards or is it some? I mean, what process are you using to bring that through? Is it a voice that comes through? Is it a download?
Basically, I'm clairvoyant. I'm mainly clairvoyant, and I do tend to hear as well. But I mainly tend to see everything. I get all like downloads, and I always say like. I get little breadcrumbs. I get little symbols, and I get a few seconds to just basically decipher that to other people. And that's basically how I get the messages. But sometimes I almost feel like, in a sense, with each spirit or each person I connect with, it's different. But there's always like the 80-20% too. Like I always have to tell people, like there's 80% of knowledge. Like you're gonna get it right off the bat because they're validations that. Directly for you. But then there's that 20% that they'll probably most likely get when they go home or, the next day. But I always like to explain that to people when they're coming into a session so they really know what to expect.
So let me get this right. So, because obviously this is a telephone line and it's hard for me to hear sometimes. So, they are what if I come to you, if someone's coming to you and they want they've lost someone, for example, they're grieving, and are you able to connect to that loved one, or is it a different process to that?
Basically, like I'm able to connect to their loved one clairvoyantly and with clairsentience. I basically, I hear and I intuitively feel like what I should say to them. And it's a really interesting process, and it blows my mind every single time just seeing that person next to me just recognize those validations that are for them. It's always 80-20 for them, too. It's always 80% of the factual knowledge that they recognize, and then there's that 20% that they always recognize later on. But it really blows my mind every single time because you really never know what you're going to get into.
Right.
That's why I personally love it.
Right. And what's been your sort of exploration as you've been given these readings? Where has your sort of exploration on where this information's really coming from? Have you gone into what's been your? Have you looked into maybe? Well, where if we're a soul and we're having a human experience, where the hell have they gone to? Well, where did they go to?
I believe 100% in the afterlife. I believe there is somewhere we go after. Um, I believe that 100%, and I always like to relay that to other people too. That like when you pass on, you do go somewhere, and I believe that everything's absolutely energy. I believe that.
Do you think that the place that we go to, that we've come from before, do you think that we're having a human experience temporarily, and that we've just blipped in and blipped out?
Absolutely, and I honestly believe sometimes you can come back too if there's a certain another soul contract that you have to come back and live out. Like I absolutely believe that as well.
And do you get any glimpses of the afterlife then? Do you get any, is there any, times when you get to see what this place is that we go to is like, or?
Sometimes, like I feel like there's a certain version that spirit shows me, especially when I connect with them via before a session. Because sometimes before I go in, I'll spend a few minutes connecting with them, and I feel like they show me a version of what they want to show me, and it's interesting. It's very interesting because I feel like especially when you pass on, I feel like you see your own version, like especially right before you go in, and I feel like you see your own version, or like whatever you're meant to be shown.
So do you think that that we create our reality, that when we cross over, that we're actually creating the reality that we're going to cross over to?
I would say in the first version when you pass, yes. I feel like sometimes you're shown maybe one of your favorite memories, something that makes you comfortable, to make you feel more comfortable when you're passing on. It could be your loved ones greeting you before you go to that next level or that next phase. But I always feel like in the beginning, like 100% yes.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, are you able to connect to that space at all? Do you? I mean, can you just, do you need to give a reading to sort of go into that space, or is that space available for you to go into at any time?
Yes, I like before I go into a session, I always kind of love to go into the spirit world and connect with them. It's funny, sometimes I feel like I like hanging out with them better than the real world. Just joking, but no, I really I really do like to hang.
No, that's cool. Hey, listen, there's no wrong with hanging out with dead people. There is not. But all jokes aside, it's like you say, it's just energy, isn't it? And you're just tapping into a part when you do that, of that part of where some of your energy resides, probably.
Absolutely, and I feel like their vibration is so high in a sense that I have to raise my vibration high for our energies to match so we can connect. But yes, that's definitely how I feel about the afterlife, though, and energy in a sense. Everything's definitely energy.
Yeah. So with your training then with Nicole Stephens, what was that sort of training? What did you do in that training?
I think a lot of it was self-care and discipline with working on myself energetically. A lot of focus as well. It was a lot of meditation work, a lot of balancing my own inner energy, and basically just setting aside at least a half hour to 45 minutes every single day to meditation. No matter what I was doing, I always made sure to set aside time for that.
So meditation was an important part of it as well. Yeah, and it still is.
Oh, absolutely. I love it. I couldn't skip a day. It's hard because every single day, life gets hard, life gets busy, but I don't like to miss a day. Like, I just love it. I love it as much as I love my coffee. Like,
Yeah.
it's just important to my self-care routine.
Yeah, yeah, and the meditation's allowing you just to slow things down and to connect to that part of you that's able to bring this information through, I guess.
Yes, and I think sitting with your own energy is really important, especially with being a medium. You need to be able to really know yourself well, and you need to be able to have that clarity. if you don't have clarity and there's chaos, it's going to be really hard to sit there and conduct a reading with someone else.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And I mean, do you doubt yourself when the information's coming through? Is there a doubting Thomas there sometimes, or have you learnt to sort of, see past that?
It's definitely taking, when I first started out, there would be doubts and stuff, but it actually blocks the information. So I've learned to really trust myself, and that these messages have nothing to do with me. So, when I'm doing these readings, none of my thoughts are coming through. I've gotten to a place where it's pretty easy to just block out my own thoughts. And, sometimes my own thoughts will come back in, but I've trained myself to a point where I trust myself and
Sure.
I don't doubt myself.
Sure. And I mean, how is the gift that you've got? How is that helping you in your daily life as well? Is the gift for you as well, or is it just for others?
Well, I love to use my intuition for my day-to-day life, but I do tend to dedicate a lot of my gifts of being a medium to other people. I try not to go walking around like that all the time because I'd probably go a little crazy. So I really just dedicate that to my sessions and in my events.
Yeah, but I mean, how has what you're doing changed your life in a sense? I guess that's what I'm asking.
It's really changed my life in a sense with my own journey in grief, because I've had a great deal of grief in my life, and it's really helped me heal tremendously. It's really helped me understand the afterlife, and that they're really not so far away, and it's really helped me a lot.
I mean, is this your full-time job, or is this a sort of a part-time thing?
So I actually have a really big goal and dream of making this more of like a full-time thing for me, and I do see it happening very soon. So it's something I'm really working on right now.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I can see that working for you, most definitely. If that's, I think. I mean, do you think that we can manifest the life that we want? Do you think you can manifest, you know, any most things that you would like to see in your life?
Absolutely. And like, my favorite word is alignment. Like, I just love to be in alignment with what's right for me and just manifesting what's right for me. So I'm all about manifesting a law of attraction, and I truly believe that it's helped me get a lot closer with following my passions with this work. It's helped me get really far these past few years.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, that's the main thing, isn't it? If it's helped you push yourself along as well, and by manifesting or going with the flow as well with that which you're trying to create, that's a great thing. Um, I almost want to ask you about. I really like to sort of explore more in these interviews. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, are you able to sort of tap into that space now? I mean, is that available to you?
Yes, I like to just I've gotten to a point where I can just kind of like tap in when I want to. Like, I know it's available and I know it's there, and I can tap in if I really want to.
And if I was, why don't I mean, would it be possible if you tapped into that space and I was able to ask you some questions?
Yes. Now, are you talking about like a medium, like questions about that, or just like from
I
intuitive source?
I think let's see if you've got let's see if I mean, do you have a guide? I mean, do you know if you've got a guide that you're working with?
Yes, I tend to have I haven't really met a specific guide, but I do work with my guides a lot. I would say one of my biggest guides is Archangel Michael. He's actually him and a lion. I'm really big with spirit animals, and I tend to work with that a lot.
Now, obviously, with it being a phone line, sorry, you're just going to have to repeat. So it was Archangel Michael, and the other one was?
And I tend to have a lot of spirit animals as well that come to me. I tend to have a lion and a tiger, and they've always been really prominent in my spiritual growth tremendously the past 3 years. So tend to work with them a lot as well.
What I'm trying to get to is when you're bringing this information through, is there a sort of gatekeeper there? And if it is a lion, is it more of a symbolic gatekeeper, or is it something that's passing information to you?
I would say the lion and tiger would be more of like symbolic gatekeepers, um, as you know, compared to like Archangel Michael, who is not only a guy but someone that I work with very closely and with all of my work. So I would say more of like Archangel Michael is like one of the biggest guides that I have.
Archangel Michael, and do you think he's there with you now?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And and is obviously I've met a lot of interviewed a lot of people, and others have or do work with Archangel Michael. So I mean, we're talking about it's it seems to be this whoever this Archangel Michael is, is not just working with one; it's working with many. Would you say that's true?
Yes, I absolutely agree.
Right. Okay. And if you were to, if I was to say to you, why is and can I call you Alex for short?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. If I was to sort of put this question to Archangel Michael, why is Alex working with Archangel Michael? What would be the sort of response that you might get back?
Basically to help bring out the light in other people and help bring out the light in people
Okay.
is basically.
Help bring out the light in people. That's a beautiful thing. And Archangel Michael, this is the being that's bringing the information from the spirit side. Let's call it that just for now, and providing it to yourself.
Yes.
Okay. Um, so when so if Archangel Michael's there now, that's great. And I know this is a bit weird for you, right? But it makes it interesting. Okay, it's just something different, isn't it? And yeah, if Archangel Michael can maybe give you some answers to the questions I'm going to ask you, then or maybe you can answer this as well. With your experience you've had, when a loved one's passed on, um, you know, is it right really for us to want to speak to them through a medium straight away? Should we not have our own sort of grieving time before we go see a medium? Do you think?
I think that sometimes in a sense, it's better for you to wait so they can typically adjust over in the afterlife. That's how I strongly feel in a sense. Like I like to suggest at least like 3 to 6 months. Sometimes spirit will come through strongly even after they have like passed away pretty recently. I have experienced that as well, but I always think and I always feel strongly that they need time to adjust over there.
Yeah, they need time to adjust. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay, and with Archangel Michael's presence still being very much there as well, has Alex had this gift before in other lifetimes?
I just felt automatically Egypt.
Egypt.
And
Wow.
and it's funny because I have I have the Eye of Horus on my wrist, and I've just always felt really drawn to Egypt, and I just felt like I should just say Egypt to you.
Just say it. Yeah, just say what comes through. So Egypt, and you know, again, bringing Archangel Michael into this conversation, right? Um, um, is that life taking place right now? Are lives happening simultaneously?
I feel like with soul contracts, there's cycles of things that will come up that you need to work on, but I feel no.
You feel no, okay. And then why is it when other people or other entities that I've spoken to would say that lives are happening all at the same time, all lives are happening now? Um, um, why would and it's okay. I like different ideas. I'm all about different exploration, right? But is that Archangel Michael's truth right now that they're not?
No, I feel like that was more of my truth, more of my truth in a sense with that. I
Yeah.
feel like I wasn't really fully connecting to that answer, but I feel like that was more of like my truth in a sense.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that's all good. That's all good. Well, I suppose you never really, some of these things I'm asking you right now is probably so left field to what you've been thinking about sometimes. I mean, you're not thinking about this type of stuff, are you?
No, but it's very interesting and very intriguing, and it's very intriguing to me. I like doing different things like this.
Keeping Archangel Michael there, right? Um, when we cross over, then, do we have a life review?
Absolutely. The moment you step into the spirit world, you go through that first process when your loved ones greet you and they bring you to that room. You sit there with your guides and you review everything from when you're a child to when you're an adult. And you actually get brought into the room with one of your favorite memories of that lifetime. And it's brought there in a sense to be comforting for you and relieving for you before you kind of just sit there with them and go through that stuff.
And obviously I'm guessing then we get to feel the good, the bad, and the ugly of what we did in this lifetime.
Absolutely, and I feel like there, in a sense, is where you kind of decide. Also, depending on how you pass, if you go in, if you're going to be going in another time, if you're going to be going into another soul contract and going in to learn that lesson again, depending on, especially how it was if you passed of suicide, or if you passed a certain way, or whatever happened in that lifetime, you basically review and see if you're going to go down and relive that lesson again.
And keeping Archangel Michael fully present in this moment, when you say go learn that lesson again, is there the possibility that you can actually get to re-experience this same life again, but in a different way?
Yes, and I feel like it will still be as difficult as it was that time where you weren't able to learn it properly. Or maybe in a sense you agree to go down there and learn a harder lesson. You've mastered that and you're going to go learn something else more difficult.
But, okay. And do we have, are there some of the people that are in our life that are the most difficult sometimes, or most challenging? Are they there because we've agreed to have a soul contract together or something?
I absolutely agree. If there's almost certain relationships in your life, whether it's with family members or a relationship with a significant other, I absolutely believe that they are soul contracts, especially if they're really difficult ones, and it's a karmic one that needs to be settled too.
Yeah, it's the karmic ones, yeah, and they can be some of the most challenging ones.
Yes, especially with family.
Oh, yes, right, okay. Um, with Archangel Michael being in the background here as well, and I want to try to bring him in when we're asking these questions. What is the purpose of this whole experience? Why do we come to planet Earth?
To evolve as a collective, to basically lift people up in a sense, and just I feel like you're here to learn more every single time, but I basically just feel like it's about evolving each time you get here and like getting through those difficult lessons.
Yeah. um, yeah, to evolve, but why are we needing to evolve?
people aren't really getting through their lessons and their soul contracts, and people are just stuck in the difficulties of Earth that we have here. They're just stuck, and it's just lower vibrational negativity that people are just stuck in, and they're not ready to evolve, and they need more people that have that, higher vibration to really come through, and basically just hand them the torch to begin healing on themselves. I feel like that's really important, that there's more people that are evolving in a sense. I feel like we need more of that, and I feel like it's becoming more common right now.
Well, is there anything that Archangel Michael might like to say as well right now, as your guide? Basically
of importance for me just to share with, other people. Self-healing and breaking generational curses. And I feel like that's just been a big part of my life recently as well too. But I feel like it's important for other people as well to recognize that it's okay to really heal yourself and break the cycle of traumatic experiences in order to really involve in a sense and show the light and show the way for other family members. And I know that's, a really random thing that comes up, but I also feel like it's an important thing to share with other people, that it's okay to step away from the values and things that you were taught your whole life by your family, and it's okay to stand in your own truth, and it's okay to be the black sheep. I think that's just really important for some people to hear if, they're feeling like they're really unable to stand out of the circumstances that they've really been brought into this world with.
With Archangel Michael still in the background, our understanding of what the spirit world could be, I guess, would it be agreeable to say that it's almost like a grain of sand on an infinite beach of what we really know as a spiritual community?
Absolutely. I feel like it's absolutely infinite, and it's everywhere, and it's so connected to us, and it's energy. Like I said, energy is so connected to everything. So I absolutely agree with it being infinite.
And to try to really even get our heads around, with Archangel Michael speaking through you now, I mean, really, would it be fair to say that that's just a label, and that really this energy that's speaking through you is beyond just that one label?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it's just tapping into the source. It's just infinite knowledge that's coming through, and I feel like it's open and it's readily available to anyone that really is willing to really let go of their own thoughts and just really tap into that.
Okay, so really, we're if we're a soul having a human experience, then right, then we have all got the ability to come up with our own answers. Any situation we're in, really, we do have that innate ability to go within and find our own answers.
Absolutely, and as you know, it's tough for a lot of people to do that because it's hard to want to even, trust or follow your intuition sometimes, because you want to follow emotion over your actual intuition. And I mean, I've done it plenty of times. I'm sure you've done it plenty of times, but intuition is always right.
Yeah, that knowing, when you just know. But what makes us fight that, I wonder? What makes us fight when we know something's right? What's really holding us back? Is it the fear of whatever that fear may be, upsetting someone or hurting ourselves, or?
I feel like disconnection from your higher self, because your intuition, that's connection to your higher self, and then there's the other thing that you don't want to follow. It's just your regular human experience. It's your ego. It's not your higher self. It's almost like disconnection in a sense when you're not following it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just because you know.
Well, yeah.
Sorry to cut you up.
Well, how many times have you known and then gone against your gut feeling and it's all gone pear-shaped for you?
Plenty of times. and there's plenty of times where I know exactly the answer to the things that I'm confused with, and I'll just choose not to follow it. And it's just a good lesson every time that you should follow your gut.
How have your friends taken the gift that you've got? How have they accepted you?
Now, I feel like they accept it a lot more. Before, when I first started out, I feel like they didn't really believe me in a sense, or almost were embarrassed in a sense. But also, I was a lot younger, and a lot of, people in my high school weren't doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I would say maybe they didn't believe me in a sense.
Right. But obviously now things are a bit easier. Do you find that your group of circle of friends has changed as you've sort of evolved as well?
Yes, I feel like it's absolutely shifted in a sense where I have people of, similar vibrations to me, and people have similar paths to me as well, like people working in this field and, along with other mediums as well. I feel like it's definitely shifted.
What would you say is the main source of what people come to you for? What are they trying to get from you when they have a reading? Is it love readings? Is it Is it the loss of someone? What's the sort of common theme?
Most commonly, people seek me for healing, and especially with grief and just closure. And not everyone comes to me for closure, but people will just, come to validate signs when they have those connections with their loved ones already. And I'll just be there as a messenger again and just, validate what they need to hear. But basically, I tend to attract a lot of people that, are in their journeys of grief right now.
Do you think that, or has it, shall I say, helped you when you've have lost someone that's close to you? I don't know if you've gone through that since the gift has been this strong, right? Or if you haven't yet, do you think that, there's still no shortcuts? You're still going to have to grieve, even though you've got this gift, when you lose someone as well?
Yes, I would say absolutely. And there hasn't been a shortcut to my grief. Like, yes, it has made things easier in a sense, knowing how close they are to you. But it's funny, people ask me if I connect to my loved ones in the afterlife, and I don't. I don't actually connect with them. And I actually have heard other mediums that don't connect with their loved ones as well. But I will say it has made my grief and my healing a little easier in a sense, but it still can be tough at times.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet it can do. Yeah, I mean, I think it takes a strong young lady to want to keep going forward in this work, and I congratulate you for getting this far. I really do. I see someone here who's got the ability to go very far with this work. Do you know that? Especially with stage work as well. That you could do very well from this and help a lot of people.
And I really have dedicated myself, and I plan to keep on dedicating myself to helping people. It's literally something I really live for, and it really makes my day.
Well, yeah, because isn't that the real crux of it here? It's not about you, and I'm not taking anything away from you. It really is about helping others.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Even since I was a little girl, like I always would dream about bringing out the light in other people, bringing out the light in others, and it was always a big dream of mine for years, and I never knew what it was. I was always a caretaker. I was always taking care of children, and I was always a caretaker in a sense for other people until I really realized what this gift was, and I was like, oh, okay, it all makes sense. It definitely makes sense to me now.
Would you be surprised if in years to come there was an evolution in your work?
Absolutely. I feel like things are going to continuously shift and evolve for me, and it's going to be ever changing because I definitely plan to dedicate a good part of my life to this work.
Yeah. One thing I want to ask you as well, obviously, is how do people get in contact with you for a reading? So just give us your website as well.
So my website, you can reach me at alexstarmedium.com, and there you can book your private sessions and your group sessions, as well as look at all of my local events on there as well.
So for obviously an international audience, which this is, people can reach you from international as well?
Yes, they do offer private phone sessions, and all of that contact information is up on my website as well.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, we'll put that in the links in the description as well for people. I just wanted to mention your website there before we can carry on. Yeah, well, I think one thing I've thought to myself recently, right, is that, well, look, if none of this was true, and for someone like me that has or did practice channeling and still can do it, right, for myself, if none of this was true, for me, it's still been very helpful. For me, when I went to go see a medium or a psychic, it still was very. It brought the best side of me out. Do you know what I mean? It always made me go into my best side whenever I'd had a reading from a medium. And I'll be honest, there was always hits. Do you know what I mean? But even if when we die there's nothing, right? The one thing I always say from this work is that it will, a reading will always be like a life coach in a sense, won't it? Do you know what I mean? It always pushing you towards the more positive side of any situation.
Yes, absolutely, I agree, because it changes your perspective of that moment, and especially your expectations of what you wanted to going into that session. I feel like your expectations always are different from your changed perspective sometimes going into a session too.
Yeah, are you surprised sometimes what comes out of your mouth when you're giving a reading to someone that actually, it's not what you thought the response was going to be?
Yes, every single time after I tend to get such in a trance when I'm doing this. I tend to not remember things, but I remember bits and pieces, and I'm just shocked every single time, as shocked as the other people are when the information comes out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that. It's a bit like a trancey kind of a kind of experience sometimes, where if you were going to recall the reading that you had done, you probably won't be able to recall all of it at all soon after doing it.
Yep, that's literally what every single time some people kind of come back and tell me their experience of it, and that helps. But I tend to only remember little bits and pieces of it.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any sort of readings that that have even struck you as well as being like a really amazing reading that you did for someone?
Oh, I've had plenty. I've had plenty of really strong experiences, but I would have to say recently, I actually moved into a house of my friend that used to live there, and her husband actually passed away there, and we actually did a session in there, and his presence was so strong while we were doing it. At the moment, we both felt it at the same time, and it literally felt like he was standing right next to us, and we both got goosebumps. We both felt those same chills, and I've just had a lot of strong connections like that, in a sense where you can literally just feel them, feel them like right next to you, and it's just strikes me every single time, as well as all the other really strong connections I've had, sitting with people. But that was definitely the one that really struck me the most, because he actually passed away in that house as well. So I feel like that made his energy stronger in a sense as well.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, and you can't prove that to anyone, can you? What you felt, but how how energized it was in that moment when that energy was coming through. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, do you give readings to family members at all, or is that a no-no?
It's funny. Like sometimes I really don't like to do it, but sometimes I say medium sessions are okay, but not intuitive, just because like I'm really close to them, and for me, I just have a big no-no with that. Intuitive, no-no. Medium sessions are okay for me to do for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, For someone wanting to get into developing their psychic side, what would be some of the advice you would give someone?
I would say absolutely, absolutely just dedicate yourself to your self-care and really nurture the knowledge and your psychic development, because that's the most important thing, as well as just meditating. I feel like those are just the really, really important things that help with your growth. And I feel like without that, I feel like it's really impossible to develop.
Yeah. The world needs people like you right now. It really does, and I think you play an important role. I think the psychics have always been there throughout time, and this is not a new phenomena, but it's definitely one nowadays where it's much more accepted, isn't it, as well?
Absolutely, it's a great time. It's a great time right now to be a medium and any other spiritual worker, because it really is so much more common, and a lot more people have more knowledge on it now. And I think it's amazing. I was actually just talking to someone about this earlier today.
If I was to try to push you, maybe just even 3 or 5 years down the line, right? Where would you like to see yourself with this work? Or where do you see yourself with this work?
I see myself still helping others with doing medium work. I see myself doing a lot of platform events with others, but I also see myself mentoring people as well and just helping people connect with their gifts. That's something that I really hope to do in the future, and I do plan on doing in some time. But right now, I mainly see myself doing a lot of more platform work.
And what is it for the platform work that you really resonate with? What do you find that's good about doing that work?
I just love being part of a collective. I just love being a part of a group of people that are all there for, similar reasons. Similar reasons. Everyone's there to gain something out of their journeys in grief, whether it's healing or whether it's closure or answers. Like, we're all there for a similar thing, and it just makes me really happy to be able to help people there, and that's one of the biggest reasons right there.
So you've dealt with readings with, obviously people that have lost a loved one, but obviously, there's obviously, suicide as well. Those readings, when a soul comes through that's committed suicide, do you think they see it quite differently to the way that we see it as the people left behind?
I feel in a sense they do see things differently. I feel like when you pass in a way like that, it's a different sort of vibration as well. And I feel like, especially if you've passed of suicide, you're going to relate things differently in a sense, because I feel like you're not really fully healed yet when you cross over, because I feel like if you pass of that type of death, like you most typically do come back and live out another soul contract. So I feel like when they come through, their vibration is different, and the messages can be almost different in a sense as well.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. What I just want to say as well, obviously you've been very brave to come on and do your first interview with me, and I truly do appreciate you doing that as well. And I hope in this interview it's showing you that some of your gifts that you're able to expand on, especially with bringing Archangel Michael through that you did. There's more to your work than there's you're able to do things that you didn't know you could do sometimes, and I hope that's helped.
Yes, it really did. It felt really cool to try something new, and I'm really excited to listen back to that and hear it, because, wow, it was really, really interesting.
Well, no, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, and I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. And your website one more time is?
It is alexstarmedium.com.
Excellent. Okay, well, that's been coming up on the screen throughout this interview, and I would just like to say, Alex Star, just thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much as well.